in here until I get him situated.
Joining for this live? Anybody here?
No. All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Friday Morning Live. Today is January 24th, 2025. Just double checking because I'm not in our normal studio. Just make sure you all can still hear me. So just in the question pane, just say if everything sounds good. Again, welcome to today's show, Friday Morning Live. We're coming from Tallahassee. We've had a few frigid mornings, including today, but some of the snow has melted, but there's plenty of ice on the roads. But we're all safe and sound, and everything seems to be working here. Thank you for all the sounds good here. So thanks for those responses. But as we go through the presentation today, I just want to remind you as we get our guests on cue, if you have questions throughout the presentation, please post them in the question pane, and we'll certainly get to as many of them as we can. Brian, just stay until I do the conversion. Yeah. So without further ado, that's me. These are our guests today, Carl Rockman and Jeremy Pope. We'll welcome them in a second. Just a reminder, a few things on our end. Capital Days is fast approaching. I cannot believe we're already through the 24th, about to the 24th of January. So if you've not registered for Capital Days, we certainly encourage you to look at the website, get your hotel rooms, and come join us for Capital Days and the Young Agent Political Summit, March 3rd through the 5th here in Tallahassee. So look forward to seeing each one of you here for that great event. Just a reminder, web-based learning instructors are a lot of classes coming up, a lot of different topics. Keith Jones is actually in the webinar room doing a webinar as we do this Friday Morning Live. So check the website and look for a lot of classes, a lot of different topics. And don't forget, education member benefit. These are the classes that are offered on a monthly basis that come with your membership with FAIA. So you see the classes there. So if you'd like to take any of those, just go in and register them, and they're complimentary. Yes, I will do that. Just a reminder of what's coming up. So next week, next Friday, the 31st, Ask Fetch with Chris Black and Trace Meek. Ask Fetch is one of FAI's partners through FMS Member Services. So they have a great tool for agents for an underwriting component. So certainly tune in to learn more about Ask Fetch. And then we take a couple weeks off and come back on the 21st of February with a legislative review with Laura Pierce and V.G. Murphy. Certainly committee weeks have already started here in Tallahassee. They canceled them this week due to the weather, but they'll kick back off again next week. They've already had a couple of hearings on some insurance-related bills. But so BG and Laura will be able to share a lot of information prior to you all coming here in March for fly-in. So, and then the 28th, we round out February with Nolan Duda with Ideal Traits. Nolan and his group are partners with the Big I. They are a resource for finding talent. So encourage you to register for that show to learn what Nolan and Ideal Traits can do for you to help in your needs with some of the talents that you're looking for as you grow your agency. And we can't have a Friday Morning Live without talking about our upcoming convention. Again, we're halfway through January, and convention is in full swing around FAI. So you see the dates. As I said a couple weeks ago, please go ahead and get your rooms booked. And then once you get your rooms booked, go ahead and register. But the books at this property, as you know, go very fast. So we encourage you to go ahead and get your books, your room booked, and then register for convention. And we have a lot of good topics, speakers, and a lot of good things. And the exhibit hall is filling up. So look forward to that. Just a reminder, after each one of these shows, if you missed it or you want to go back and listen to a portion of it or you want to share it with one of your team members, we archive these on the Friday Morning Live page on the Education tab. So again, after this show, you'll see the Citizens one on the page if you want to share it with some of your colleagues. So, but without further ado, we're going to bring in our friends from Citizens. Let's see, Carl Rockman, are you there?
I'm here. Good morning, Dave.
All right, and then let me get Jeremy Pope. There's quite a few people on here, Carl, so I got to scroll a little bit. And then I'm going to elevate you, Carl, because you're going to run the slides, correct?
Yes, thank you, Dave. When you're ready, turn it over.
Yep. I'm trying to. Jeremy, you've self-muted, so if you want to unmute,
there we go.
Good morning, sir.
Thanks, Dave. Good morning.
Technology, it's fun when it works.
I hear you.
But good morning, sir. How are things in Jacksonville?
Way colder than what we prefer. I can tell you that, but honestly, a little bit warmer than Tallahassee right now.
All right, Carl, I'm turning it over to you. So I'm going to let you take it from there.
Okay. Let me know, Dave, if you're seeing the screen.
I'm seeing your screen, yes. You just got to bring up your slides.
You see the presentation?
No, I don't see the presentation yet.
All right. Do you see the presentation now?
I do. There you go.
Okay. Got to get on the right screen. Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Carl Rockman, the Vice President of Agency and Market Services. And as Dave mentioned, joining me is our Chief Administrative Officer and my boss, Jeremy Pope. We'll be driving the discussion today. We have a lot of things to share with you in the world of Citizens. I always like to remind our great agents out there that you have a support network second to none. If you're an agent out there dealing with any Citizens issues, you need advocacy, you need support, training, education, a shoulder to lean on. Your agency field manager is your best friend. A lot of you have networked with these folks. If you haven't, you might want to do it if Citizens is a part of your agency that needs a little support, particularly with the things I'm going to talk about today. These folks will be along with you on the journey on all the things we talk about that we're going to be implementing this year. And I just want to make sure that everyone understands that these folks are out here and available along with our great phone reps, along with our great underwriters. These folks are a great point of contact for you.
Carl,
Dave and I,
Carl?
Yeah, yes.
You want to go to full screen on this? You're just showing. Yeah, go to slideshow and just do. There you go. There you go.
A little better? Okay, super. And that's coming through okay? I see it now. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so Dave, when you and I got together, we thought we would just really use Friday Morning Live to talk a little bit about the road ahead. Always good to give the agents a heads up on changes that will impact their agency if they're working with Citizens. I want to talk about Senate Bill 2A, and there is some really, really great news on 2A that I want to share with everybody. Senate Bill 2A was the legislation that passed to help us reduce legislation as much as we can. Then I want to talk about the Depop and Clearinghouse programs. You can't have a Citizens meeting without talking about those two big, important programs. And then a little awareness around changes to our agency and agent agreements that we're going to be implementing this year. And then Dave will pause for questions both from you and from any of the agents out there that might want to run a question into you. Jeremy and I are available to handle the Q&A. So Dave, sound okay?
Again, you sound great and it looks good. Just again, reminders, folks, if you have questions, many of you have already found the question pane, but please pose the question and we'll get to as many as we can, as we always do. If we don't get through them during the presentation, we'll certainly get you offline. So go ahead, Carl.
Okay, great. So I'm going to be brief on this slide, but if you're thinking of Citizens in your agency operations, here's the things that I would make you aware of. And if my team can stop sending me Teams texts, that would be great. And I'm hearing you're seeing the notes, Dave. Are you seeing the notes?
Can you go back and end that slide and swap presenter view? And there you go. Hit that one. There you go. There you go.
That better? Okay. Let me go over here real fast. Okay, so here are the things that I want to make the agents aware of, things that Citizens is going to be doing that you need to pay attention to. Number one, in January, the rule changed. 500,000 and above coverage A has flood requirement anywhere in the state of Florida. All right, that flood requirement's a public policy decision. Boy, did it pay off in Milton. Okay, but a reminder that that's now required. That could cause you to maybe look at those private markets a little bit more diligently. But again, a reminder that that's out there now. Commercial lines depopulation is going on in January. And you'll see Depop as a very popular theme in all these things we're doing in Q1 and Q2. In February, heads up, we've been telling you guys on the webinars and through all kinds of other means, multi-factor authentication for Policy Center, it is coming. Okay, we are getting ready. Okay, so in February, we're going to be working with you to set up those multi-factor accounts. And much like other carriers have done, when you're getting into Policy Center to do business with us, there'll be that extra step to get a code to your email, punch the code in to authenticate. All right, more to follow on that, but that's coming in February. Also in February, we're going to start slowly, and I'm going to cover this in detail. The last phase of the clearinghouse powered by EasyLinks will be implemented. And that last phase is EasyLinks is going to do the premium calculation, and you won't be able to bridge unless all the premiums returned with carriers you're appointed with are over 20% of citizens. More on that in a minute. And then personalized depopulation in February. In March, that's when I would expect most of you to see EasyLinks. We're going to run that out. We're going to roll that out by agency. You'll get specific communication from us on that. And again, I'll cover that in detail in a minute. New agency agreements on or around March. We should be in a position to get those out to everybody to sign. And then CL and PL depop. In April, another personalized depopulation. And then in May, rates. I know a lot of you asked when the Citizen's going to take rates. I would say it's very, very tentative right now, but I would say around that time frame. But please, that's not an official announcement. That's just awareness and a feeling inside right now. In May, Policy Center is going to move to the cloud, which is going to allow us to do some different things downstream, but we are going to have some changes to Policy Center in May, and then another CLD population. A lot going on, Dave, at Citizens, but our number one job is to make sure the agents are informed and supported through all these changes. Okay. I want to talk about Senate Bill 2A. I want to share two slides with you that Tim Serio presented to the Senate Banking Committee a couple weeks ago. And there's two things to take away from Senate Bill 2A. First, everyone knows the story about excess litigation in Florida. Everyone knows the story about 9% of the property claims in America were in Florida, but 81% of the residential property litigation was in Florida. Senate Bill 2A, thank goodness, passed. Dave, I think in no small part to your association's advocacy for change. So thanks to you and your great association for being on the side of Senate Bill 2A. What's it done, though? Everyone's asking what's happening. I want to share two facts with you. The first fact is the bold letters down below. When we filed our rates for 2025, we were able to take out over $500 million in our rate meeting just because of what we're already seeing with litigation impact. Think about that for a minute. Citizens is seeing that, all right? And what are we using to get to that number? This slide. This slide illustrates the litigation rates on HO3 non-catastrophe claims. In 2015, 44% of our non-catastrophe HO3 claims had litigation tied to them. In 2023, it was 10%. 10%. 10%. All right. If Citizens is a bellwether, and we're not that uncommon when it comes to this part of the insurance world. That is a very, very, very good trend for both Citizens, but more importantly for the industry. So I want to let everybody know that I think there's very, very good cause for optimism here in terms of health of the market, particularly with what Senate Bill 2A has done and the impacts that it's had. Okay. Dave, I'll take a pause there for any questions on road ahead or litigation.
The only thing, and I'll get with you on one other one, but Denise asked, do we have newer data since 2021? I have not seen any, Carl. I don't know if your team has done any analysis on some of the rate, the 9% versus the 81 since 2021 when the commissioner talked about this. But that certainly is something I'm sure people like Denise and others are probably interested in to see what those percentages are now versus a few years ago.
Yeah, I'm certain, Dave, we'll run that down. I'm certain that's going to spin up as there's more conversation around impacts of 2A. And I also want to note, obviously 2024 isn't on here. We'll be reporting that to our board in the next meeting, but I can tell you that they're not that far off, okay? Okay. There's not been a big spike or a big trend in 2024 that we're keeping from it. The trend is still holding. And again, reason for optimism here. If carriers can reduce that litigation rate, that's going to spin into more capacity and obviously, hopefully more appetite for carriers to want to take business from Citizens, but also help you before it even comes to Citizens, which is what we all want. Right. Okay. Okay. All right, Dave, move on to Depop.
Yep.
And claims. Okay. Just briefly, we can't do depopulation without agents. I always like to let the group know how big our agent count is right now. 12,504 appointed agents as of September. That's up a little bit. And then obviously 5,966 agencies. We would anticipate these numbers potentially decreasing over time as agents become less reliant on citizens. But we're certainly here to support the agents that are out there, and we have a lot of them. Sticking with Depop, you can see this is the overall trend for Citizens since 2004. You can see that big dip, residual market level. That's what we believe are probably somewhere around that range is where we truly should be if we're truly serving those homes that are tough to insure. The spike that we had in 2020 and above was a function of the market. But take a look at 2023, 2024, and what we're budgeting for 2025. Right now, if everything comes to pass that we've analyzed, we're hoping to be below 800,000 policies by the end of the year. Okay, that would be significant progress to reduce exposure, but also to move capital to the private market where it belongs. Okay, this will help this all carries. But thank you to the agents who helped with that dip. Dave, you have a question, or I heard you?
No, I'm just saying that's again another positive sign of what's happening in the private market, not only with depopulation, but as many agents know on this call, we've had carriers open capacity, we've had territories open, zip codes reopen. So it's again with the reduction and exposure with Citizens, it's a sign of the market getting healthy again.
Absolutely, absolutely. Some real numbers here, just sticking with Depop specifically. This takes Depop back to 2011. You can see how many policies we've removed in all these years. We removed 477,821 policies last year. More appropriately, we moved them to the private market, okay? And I want to say thank you. Depop doesn't happen because we send a letter. Depop happens because agents had 477,821 conversations with consumers, helping them with their options and choices. So thank you. Depop doesn't happen without agents, all right? And we need your support. I know we have it, and whatever we can do to make the process as good as it can be, we're very, very committed to. And I'm going to cover a few of those things that you need to be aware of in the process in a few minutes. Okay?
Yeah,
We're looking at around 300,000 for this year. So again, we're going to need your help appropriately making those offers and getting those customers options outside of Citizens.
Yeah, Carl, let me put a little bow to that on that.
Yeah.
Certainly, over time, for many on this call that have been through Depop, the new process may be a little differently. It's been refined, but I will tell you there continues to be refinement and discussions between this organization with Citizens, some of the other stakeholders. Citizens has had a lot of discussion with some of the takeout companies to help the process. So if you have an idea, if you have a concern, if you have something that you feel would help make the process better for you and your customer, please let us know, and we'll certainly take it to Citizens, and they will take a look at it to see if they can incorporate that into the process. The OIR has been very active in listening to Citizens and others about the process. So just keep that in mind.
Great, thank you, Dave. And again, as Dave said, we're looking always at tweaks and things to improve. We're never quite done, and appreciate the feedback any of you might have. Quickly on this slide, this again emphasizes the Depops by month, 477,821. But here's an important part of the new program. Remember, if an offer is made within 20% of Citizens, the customer has to go. They can't stay with Citizens. We had, of the 477,000, 165,000 of those customers got offers that were less than Citizens premium. And then another 289,000 got prices within 20%. This again shows the price proximity that the carriers are able to offer, Citizens rates coming up a notch, in a really, really good situation where we're matching and giving customers a lot of options with carriers. We anticipate this being the case in 2025, where carriers are able to offer lower Citizens premiums or premiums within 20%. These are the carriers that are participating, and a big thank you. We can't do it without these carriers, right? A lot of you work with these carriers, both on Depop and in some cases a direct basis. But a shout out and a thank you to our carriers. And this shows you the appetite. This many carriers coming to Citizens looking to assume customers is a good sign of the market and its health. Okay, so again, I'd like to compliment these carriers and let you know who's out there working on the Depop side. We get a lot of comments from agents, but Carl, it comes back. It all comes back. It all comes back. Let's look at the reality. We started to ramp up our Depop program in June of 2023. That's really when we hit our stride, all right? We monitor returning new business in multiple ways, but one of the things we look at on returning new business is, was it part of a recent Depop? And this slide will illustrate that since June of 2023, with 746,000 policies assumed, we've only had 1.5% come back as new business. Okay. Now, some of those customers may have found other markets, they may have sold their home, but it's no higher than 1.5%. And we watch and monitor this. Why? Because we have to make sure agents are exposing that renewal offer from the Depop company to make sure they qualify for Citizens. Okay, so we have our eye on the ball here. And we definitely want to make sure that things are working, but we wanted to share this number with you as well. And Dave, I know one of the suggestions, one of the things that came up in our conversation recently with FAIA was, in some cases, the customer does have to come back to Citizens. Okay, they're offered assumption, they're assumed, and then the renewal for the carrier comes out a few months later. And things can happen. The carrier may have taken a rate increase. The customer may have adjusted coverage. There could be a number of reasons why the premium from the Depop carrier has now changed. If that occurs, we have a program we call returning depopulation, or the soft landing. Okay, we want to make sure every agent in Florida that participates in Depop understands this. Okay, and I'm going to cover it. I'm going to take a minute to go through this in some detail. If you have a customer who, when the renewal offer comes out from the Depop company, if that premium has changed or elevated, you can compare that to the current Citizens new business price. And if the Depop carrier renewal is above 120% to Citizens, you can bring them back to Citizens as a new business policy without photos, a 4-point roof, or WLM. The customer does not have to do any of that, nor do you have to provide that to us if it's a returning Depop. Plus, you have to tell us what company assumed the risk and make sure that you've got that renewal from that company exposed and compared, because we're going to be looking for it to make sure there's integrity in what you're bringing back. We understand that the process isn't necessarily perfect, and we did want to accommodate for some of those unique situations where a premium may change from a Depop carrier. But we want to make sure that every agent understands a new business policy is all that's required. No administrative documents are required to bring them back to Citizens if they were part of a recent depopulation. This does not apply to 3. This is the most recent Depop. Are they part of that? That's where we're working on this this exception process. Dave, I know you have some thoughts on this, or a comment or two on this process.
Let's go ahead and knock out a couple questions, Carl, since and I think we can get Jeremy involved in a couple of these as well. The first one is, you mentioned it comes back as new business. So the question Eric has is why? Why does it come back as new business? Or why can't you just untag it and just make it a renewal? So I guess just if we can just talk about that process a little bit.
Yeah, it has a lot to do with the contractual obligation inside the depopulation program. Okay, when a policy is assumed, it is owned by the assumption carrier. We pay the assumption carrier the unearned premium, and they also pay any claim liability. So contractually, and through the program that's approved by the OIR, the policy isn't Citizens anymore, other than it's on Policy Center and it's you administer it. By all other means, it's owned by the company. So there really is no renewal. There's no renewal to generate. There's no renewal that's going to come through the system. Okay, by the program, the policy is now owned by that other company. So there's nothing technically for me to renew. Okay, that's why it needs to come back in. It's one of the reasons why it needs to come back as new business. We get, and Dave, you brought this up. We get the fact it seems, wow, why do I have to write a new business? Well, because the relationship with Citizens has pretty much been severed because of that assumption. And now, in order for them to come back to Citizens, they're going to need to be reintroduced. The other piece, candidly, on new business is they're going to go through the clearinghouse with me, and I'm going to cover that. So while these customers will waive administrative requirements, we're still going to require you to shop them before they come back to Citizens. And who knows, there might be another carrier out there that has a more compelling option versus returning. So those are two very, those are pretty much the reasons why we don't just renew them. One is more of a technical nuance, but the other is a very real deal where we don't want to just bring them back. We want to make sure they're shopped. And by having them come back as new business, they're going to get the clearance.
All right. Hey, Carl, John wants to know, is there a way to see how an agency for depopulation purposes compares to the average? Is there a way to compare, an agency of John's size versus other agencies that have also taken on depopulation out of citizens? Is there?
Yeah, sure. There's probably not a metric we can't get if asked. I can follow up with John offline to say, is it assumption? Is it pricing? There's probably a couple of dimensions I'd like to know a little bit more about what he's asking for. We have the data and a reasonable request. We certainly would be able to work with the individual agent, and then they maybe make those numbers known, more publicly if they look like they tell a story.
Yeah,
absolutely.
If a customer changes the policy prior to depop, can they get out of the depop? Customer lowered coverage A and now outside the 20% rule.
No.
Okay. Okay. Michael, Carl says no. No, I'm kidding.
I can elaborate, Dave, but the short answer is, once the offer's made and once the assumption's done, customers can change or do. Now, I thought I knew where that question was going. We do inform the depop carrier of any changes to the policy before they build that renewal to send, okay? There's a data transfer that we have. So if you guys make a mortgage change or some adjustment on the policy, the depop carrier should be picking that up before they issue that renewal. And we have really good sense that that's happening, well. Let's put that.
And again, to further Michael's point, the assumption has not quite acted yet, right? It's not taken place yet, and the customer goes in and changes coverage.
Correct. Yeah, correct. For example, let's say they're assumed. Well, that's probably two things going on. There is what we call the marketing period. The marketing period is when the the offer letter goes out, and there's like a 35-day window where we're making people do choices. Okay. No change you make there is going to matter. Okay. The assumption offer is the assumption offer is the assumption offer as the time it's made. Okay. The time to make those coverage changes and do those types of things should be upstream, right? But once that assumption letter goes out, the way the program works is we're going to calculate the rates based on that policy data at that time, and it will play out. Okay. So nothing you can do to go in and say, let me manipulate this coverage or change it appropriately. Sorry. And then try to unwind the depopulation. The program does not support that, and that won't be something that we can do.
Okay. Now, to that point, Carl, what if the insured does not want to go with the takeout carrier who's a reciprocal, and they do not agree with the subscriber agreement?
Okay.
What happens in those situations?
Regrettably, they're going to need to find a carrier other than Citizens that's not a reciprocal. But they will not be able to come back to us for that reason.
Because they're no longer eligible, correct?
Correct. They have an offer from an admitted carrier that deems them ineligible to remain with Citizens. That's kind of where the whole thing starts and stops. Okay. I know that's tough. I know that's tough love, but that's the only fair way to express it, because we're not by statute and by program, we're not allowed to bring those folks back just because of that reason.
Okay. I may need to get a little bit more clarity from Denise on this, but she's asking, is Citizens addressing the carrier that rejected all the depops last fall? We may need, unless you're familiar with that, we may need a little more clarity on that.
I think generally, I'll talk about this, David. I think it's related to the reweighting process. And if you can maybe, I don't want to shout out a carrier name here, Dave, but I vaguely remember a scenario that sounds like what she's asking.
Okay.
Here's this, and this is a good one for agents to take away. Carriers will be approved by the Office of Insurance Regulation for a certain amount of policies in each depop month. So carrier X is approved to take 20,000 policies. They're approved because the regulator is looking at their capital and other things to make sure they don't do more than they should. Okay, so they're approved for 20,000, but we do allow the carrier to do what's called oversubscribing. Okay, we do allow the carrier to send a certain percentage of offers over and above their subscription. Why do we do that? Because not everybody takes it, policies cancel. Some people do have the option to stay. By oversubscribing, it allows the carrier, once everything's completed, to do what's called reweighting or rebalancing. That's important because if they have the ability to fill their quota with 20,000, they want to pick the right 20,000 that fits their reinsurance model, their capacity, other things like that. So there's a little rebalancing that comes in, okay, where the carrier will say, I know I made you this offer, but I'm sorry I can't give it to you, okay? And some of you have seen those letters, unsuccessful assumption letters, we call them. If memory serves, Dave, we might have had a carrier that, for different reasons, needed to do more than normal, okay, through reweighting. And clearly, we would be disappointed and would have been disappointed in that and would work with that carrier to not make that a normal practice. The normal practice of Depop is not to make 20,000 offers and keep 5, okay? It's to make offers and hold to that capacity that they've been approved for. But agents need to be aware, and I had a case just the other day where I had to coach an agent. I know you guys are out there having those conversations. You're convincing the customer to move. You're doing the work we've asked you to. But a little caveat, you might get reweighted. We're in the middle of this right now. There's a small potential that you might be able to remain with Citizens. We just have to wait and see. Okay, that would be my advice. I know that's not easy. One touch is always better, but the reality is there's the potential that customers could be reweighted. It's allowed and permitted, and something we support.
All right. Steve wants to know, Carl, is it necessary to send reminders to Depop customers to make a choice when they only have one offer? It is creating a lot of confusion with insureds. How many reminders do go out during this process?
To the consumer?
Yes.
And I'll ask my team to come in. My recollection is we obviously send the assumption letter, and I believe we may be sending an email if customers haven't made a choice within a certain deadline. I think there's at least one more touch we do just to make sure we get their answer on the record. I will take that back and look, Dave, and I'll communicate back through you on what the specific.
And we'll get it to Steve.
So we don't want to wear the customer out, guys. We don't want to wear the customer out, but at the same time, we know you're busy, and we don't want them to miss an option that they may have. Agreed. If there's only one carrier, one offer, there's no choice. It seems a little crazy to pester the customer in that regard, and we can take a look at that.
How do we better communicate or alert agents when the Depop happens for whatever reason? Apparently, what this agent is saying that they get zero notice back to saying that the depopulation did not go through for whatever reason. Is there communication back to the agent on those failures, so to speak?
Yeah, I'm gonna ask. I know my Depop team is out there listening. I'm gonna ask them to pop a quick response on that. I know we notify everybody on the actual assumption through Excel, and we notify you when we send the document to the customer that it's been unsuccessful. I don't know that we're sending you an aggregated list of failures. Okay, I don't think we're doing that. It's probably on our board to provide and do. But for those of you out there that sign up for our daily email on document generation, okay, there's a daily email you can get that if we generate a document to a customer, you get an email from us with the customers and the policy numbers on it. A lot of agents use that email to be the trigger for, there's an unsuccessful assumption. I'm getting notified in this email that these customers were unsuccessfully assumed, okay? So that's another clue. And I'm told, I just got a flash, that if anyone out there is interested in unsuccessful assumptions, you can work with your agency field manager, and they can spin those reports up for you. And they will look to scale that. I think that's probably a good ask if it's unsuccessful, to raise the awareness around it. But I would say this to all the agents out there, that email I described, the document generation email, can be your best friend for a lot of things. And realize we're paper mailing a lot of that to the consumer. You guys would have a little bit of advance notice on that. But unsuccessful assumptions will happen. That hopefully they don't happen at scale. We do send the email out notifying everybody that's subscribed to that service, and then you can request a report from your agency field manager.
Okay. I've got a few more questions. I got to get a little more clarity on one of them, but one of them is, Carl, and then we'll kind of move on a little bit and come back to these. How do we get the carriers to send us the list of tag policies without signing the agreement? We've had policies get dropped, but then we are not notified, so we don't know what they are actually taking. We don't always get the list from Citizens, or sometimes it changes. How do we better handle, or can that be handled better?
Okay, so I think the question, Dave, is around reconciliation of what actually closed in the depot. I think, is that a way to phrase the question?
You don't always get the list from Citizens, or sometimes it changes. We know better than anyone which policies are not a good fit and will result in cancellation due to unrepaired damage, dog breed, etc.
Okay, let's handle that one. Okay, yeah. Here's what I would say. The depot carriers have full access to our data file. Okay, they know the conditions that exist on the policy, and if they make an offer on a condition that is known in that data file, then they can't back up on assuming that policy. Okay, there is a condition, one that some carriers will leverage, where if they want to do certain things on the underwriting side to give them some assurance, it's a limited practice. It's governed by certain rules, but there can be situations where a carrier may say, you know what, I'm not comfortable with this because, right? You need to let us know if that's happening, though. All right, we want to be aware, and we are made aware now and then of a carrier who's asking you to do things. We want to make sure that the carrier is working within the parameters of the program that governs that. Okay, so I would say to any agent out there, get with your field manager. If you're saying, hey, this carrier is backing up on some depot, is it legit? Is it okay? And then we'll be happy to respond to you if that's the case or not. Okay, generally doesn't happen, but on occasion, there could be some really, really marginal stuff. I know you guys are trying to alert them. I know I've heard agents say, I'd love to alert the carrier that this is a tough piece of work. Okay, I would, again, get your field manager involved. If there's a 1 or 2 or 3 that you think you might have, we have no problem sending something, bridging over to the carriers and making them aware and helping, and we'll make that offer out to you guys as you're working it.
All right, let's finish this one, Carl, and then we'll move on, and then we'll certainly answer some more questions, but I know you want to touch on some other things here.
I do.
One of the questions is, I am getting depops and the takeout carrier has not offered a limited service agreement. This causes a real problem in that the takeout offer is better for the customer and the customer should move, but I can't afford to lose a piece of business. I don't quite understand that. That's certainly not the norm.
No, Dave, and I'll say this, I shout this from the mountaintops. The carrier cannot depop your business unless you have an LSA with them. Okay? No LSA, no depop. Everybody with me? If you have policies that are being depopped, if I understand the question, if you have policies that are being depopped and you don't have an LSA, let your field manager know right away, immediately. Okay? Because that is not appropriate. Right, Dave? Everybody with me?
Yeah.
Okay? So did I get the spirit of that question, Dave? I want to make sure that...
No, you did. And I think the other thing is again, some awareness here. Somebody popped in and said, sometimes they go in to junk mail. And so the junk folder,
Yes.
those agreements.
Yes.
So
yeah.
Again, I know that can happen. It happens to all of us. Unfortunately, sometimes more routinely. But if you're sending out a notice that there's some depop going on and your policies may be impacted, and then you don't get anything from the carrier. I've had these calls as well, and I know you have, Carl, where the agent calls and says, hey, I thought I was going to get a LSA, but I hadn't seen anything. But I know some of my policies are in play.
Yep.
So,
yep. Yeah. On the flip side of that, Dave, here's the other thing. On the flip side of that, if you did get a depop from a carrier, that means they're interested in your book. It sounds like this also might be administrative, where the agent just wants to get the LSA signed and the carrier wants them. It's really about making the connection, right?
Yeah.
Right. I would say this, guys, get the first try, reach out to the carrier. Second try, reach out to your field manager. Okay, we're fine. Just try the carrier first for that LSA. If not, get us involved. We're happy to bridge and make sure the connection. I like it if it's you want to sign and they want you. That's what I'm hoping the outcome is. But on the flip side, if you didn't approve the LSA for that carrier, then the depop can't happen.
Yeah,
and also
that's a whole different conversation. Got it.
Different conversation. Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay, Dave, two quick slides to wrap up depop. I want to remind the agents, and this is something our field managers train on rigorously. these are the coverages that I don't offer. A lot of the depot carriers do. Okay, make sure, right? Make sure that obviously selling against Citizens is something I would really encourage you to do. Our policy may not be as broad as you think, and these are some coverages that typically can come up. So making your staff aware of that is good. And then last, Dave, I know you were excited when we showed you this. On our public website, not the agent portal, but on the public website in the depopulation area, we have a lot of resources. But one of the best resources we've got now is a page where you can take a carrier, and for this example, I've used American Integrity, hit the drop down, and then there is a link called comparison. So if you're interested in something more robust than the checklist we send with the package, this comparison is available on our website. And what is the comparison? It is significantly more detailed. It's stacked in a way that follows the deck page, and it lines out in very simple terms what Citizens does and what the carrier does, okay? This is iterative to some of the other suggestions we've heard about coverage changes, Dave, and all that impact, but this is something we want to raise the awareness on. This is a PDF that can be mailed to the consumer. You can consult with them online. They can self-serve. And obviously, with this level of data, we're looking at doing some things with it more dynamically. But we want to make sure that if you have a question about the differences between a depot company and the Citizens product, go to this website, hit this change. It's a great way for you to understand, number one, but also be able to explain to a consumer who might have an interest in what the differences are. Okay?
Yeah, right. Let's just remind everybody, Carl, that this document, this process came out of a lot of agents calling us, calling FAI, calling you, calling your team, and saying a lot of times the package has too much information, right? It has 22 pages, it has 31 pages of information. And if we can get a little bit more concise with these comparisons, and be able to talk side by side with our customer through those, then this will help us be a better agent. So I think this is something that people were talking about. They were alerting Citizens, and I'm already getting, these are nice. I've already got a comment. Where on the website can they find these, Carl? Where are these located?
They're on the public website in the depopulation section. And Dave, you got these slides, but as a follow-up, I'll have one of my team send you the links out. Yeah. You know, the page. We'll get that out to the group that came today, and you can blog on it on your deal. Yeah. We definitely want to raise the awareness that these comparison sheets are out here. Okay. And also, just the sheet I'm representing here. There's probably 4 pages. This is just a sample page. This has more detail on it that I'm just not able to. I didn't snip all of it today for today's show. Okay. All right. So this is really, really good work, and we appreciate the feedback that caused it. Yeah. All
right. Next. There you go. All right.
Okay. And that's it. So just a little. As of 9:30, we're 14% of the market. We aspire to be much lower than that, and we need your help. We're still a significant chunk, but some of you are always interested. I know, Dave, you're always interested in where do we stack up currently, and 14%, we want that number to decrease dramatically, and that's what we're hoping. That's what we're going to do with the support of the agents out there and a good, healthy, vibrant market. Okay.
Yeah, and again, just a reminder, and agents know on this call that 14% is statewide, but there are pockets, as we know, the Citizens has a greater penetration. But understand, they're going to continue to try to find carriers through Depop that will to look at some of those policies to assume. So
got it. Okay. Dave, I'm going to move next to
we'll get some questions in a minute. So let's just keep moving.
Okay. So I'm going to move to the clearinghouse. And I want to walk. This slide's got a lot of detail on it, but I just want to walk everybody through it. For those of you that remember the clearinghouse, about 10 years ago, we stood up a clearinghouse platform. Agents use that clearinghouse platform, but obviously, when that contract came up for renewal, we had a chance to go out to the marketplace and kind of reimagine what the clearinghouse would be. We've contracted with Applied Systems, and EasyLinks is now the platform. All right, we've been rolling it out in phases. It being use EasyLinks to qualify your Citizens business to make sure that there's integrity at the point of sale when it comes to other prices with other carriers. Phase 1, we gave it to every agent that didn't have property rating EasyLinks and asked them to start using it. Phase 2, starting in November, we required agents to send in the screen snips proving they used EasyLinks. Okay, this was all manual. Okay, it wasn't mechanized. But Phase 3, welcome to Phase 3. Because much like the old platform that all of you will remember, if a price came back that was within 20% of citizens, you could not bridge. You could not bridge. I'm trusting you guys to bridge today because I'm checking your proof on the back end. Okay, but we're going to mechanize that in Phase 3. All right. What that means is for your HO3s, your HO6s, your DP1Ds, your DP3D policy forms, you've got to initiate those, or you will have to start initiating those in EasyLinks. Get price returns back from the carriers you were appointed with on EasyLinks. We will run the comparisons mechanically. We will do the math, and if everybody's above 20%, you'll be able to bridge. If they're not, you're blocked, just like the old clearinghouse. Okay, everybody with me? All right, this is the last part of this implementation, but it's going to start hitting agents soon. Okay, how soon I'll talk about. But why did we do it, Dave? We get a lot of questions. Okay, a lot of questions, and I want to remind everybody the reason we kind of reimagined the clearinghouse was we wanted to improve the agent experience and make the application process shorter. I don't think anyone can argue, and we know they can't because we're talking to agents that use it. It certainly is shorter and faster, okay? We also have improved carrier reach. At its peak, I think the old clearinghouse might have had 9 carriers on it. EasyLinks has 20 carriers on it, okay? So I think I can now bring some additional integrity to point of sale pricing with 20 carriers and agents appointed with them, okay? Now, with a shorter application process, there's some back-end stuff that we're gonna have to deal with, and we are dealing with that. But we believe we've lived in the vision of it. Now, right now, Dave, where are we? We have launched this Phase 3 in 20 pilot agencies. We launched it this week, and we're running a pilot. You would expect us to run a pilot, right? Make sure everything's working. Make sure the kinks are worked out. Did we discover a couple things in the pilot? You bet we did. I'm glad we did, but we're fast fixing them, okay? So, Dave, right now, I'm telling the agents on the line that we are in pilot phase with 20 agencies, and I'm going to be deciding, along with Jeremy, kind of, okay, how does it feel to scale this? And when we do scale this feature that will block you, we're going to do that in groups. I'm not going to do every agent at one time. You'll get communication from us broadly, and then you'll get an individual agent communication telling you when the feature will be turned on and what training we would encourage you to go to, okay? But this is a big moment, all right? We had a clearinghouse. We sunset that clearinghouse and kind of ran without one for a bit, even though with new requirements for agents to prove. Okay, we had a program, but it was different. And now we're mechanizing things with the help of Applied and EasyLinks. Okay, so I'm going to pause there, Dave. I know there might be a question or two on the clearinghouse for sure, and I want to just make sure that we have a moment to discuss this one. Any questions?
After this change, can we still do quick quotes in Policy Center as a reality check for us?
Yes, yes. Quick quote is always available to you. The quick quote feature, if you just need a quick, what's the citizen's deal? Quick quote's going to be there, right? It's going to be there for sure. But in order to get your business done, we're going to need to, get through EasyLinks and move through. The quick quote's not going anywhere. You'll still be able to do a fast citizen's quote just to see what range we're in.
Okay. What if EasyLink continues to show rates that are not valid and are much higher, or even an issue with eligibility?
Okay. This came up at our agent roundtable. Okay, our agent roundtable has been just so great at giving us insights and things to think about with EasyLinks. I won't go into all the detail now, but I'd ask the agents to kind of close your eyes and go to that EasyLinks pricing page. And let's say you're working with Citizens and 3 other carriers. And let's say you get a price return back from a carrier that disqualifies Citizens. Okay, it's lower than Citizens. It disqualifies, but you go, wait a minute, this house has solar panels. This house has something. This carrier won't take it. We have an exception process where you can push a button, tell us that condition exists, show us that it exists, and we'll override it for it. We have built and the pilot agents we're getting good feedback from the pilot agents on this. So rest assured, we know that the price returns you get from EasyLinks may have some things in them that we need you to override. We're going to give you the ability to do that. The second thing, though, is the other question was what happens. I think, Dave, the other question is what happens maybe when I do get disqualified and I swing over to the carrier portal and then they run credit, or they do something to change that premium in EasyLinks. Guess what? Show us that the premium changed, push a button, come over, we'll let you override that too. So I think we have a very good system to overcome maybe some of the imperfections in EasyLinks, but more importantly, what we're getting from it in terms of more carriers and faster for the agents at the front end, we think is a good thing.
Yeah, I think from John and David's point, there are going to be things that the agent is going to be more familiar with on the risk that the system, unfortunately, can't pick up, right, Carl? And so
absolutely.
The agent, you're telling us that the agent now has the ability to hit a button and bring that back because they know the risk a little bit better than the computer does.
Yeah, well, let me just set the expectation. And I'll use solar panels, okay? EasyLinks doesn't ask about solar panels. A lot of carriers don't like solar panels, right? Yep. So let's say you get a price back from a carrier that you know doesn't do solar panels. By the way, we know they don't do solar panels because it's a filed and approved rule, right?
Right.
Right. Okay. So when you see the process, there's a quick form, check the carrier, check the condition, and prove to me they got solar panels, okay? You'll push a button, it'll open up an email, you just link, upload your form and your photo and send it, and then Norm Graham and his great VPOP team or clearinghouse team are going to look at that and send you back, okay? It is a back and forth, it's not an automatic, okay? Because we have to make sure there's integrity in that override. But we're very, very committed because the next question, well, how long are you going to take?
Yep, that was my next question.
Wow, we've done this before. We're very, very committed to a one-day turnaround, and that's too long. Okay, one of the things we're doing in the pilot is we're validating how many of these are we likely to receive. All right. So Dave, if I'm doing 20,000 deals a month, okay, roughly, based on the pilot, how many overrides would Norm and his team have to process? And we're going to staff to that. Okay, we're gonna make sure because we know how critically important it is to get decisions back, particularly on new business. All right. So I want to signal that to the group. The pilot is helping us understand how much of this, and we're very, very committed for all the good things that EasyLinks is doing for us. We want to make sure that we give the agents the support when they're going to need it for these certain conditions.
All right, let's turn to agency and agency appointments, and certainly there's a question from Michael on this, but I'll let you go ahead and start addressing. And just folks, full disclosure, Citizens worked with us, our general counsel, our legislative team on this. We had several meetings to discuss some of these changes. Just quite like any agreement, folks, some things they agreed with, some things they massaged, some things they stood pat on. So we think it's a good agreement. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. But I can tell you FAI had a lot of discussion with senior leadership of Citizens, their general counsel, and a lot of their team about these new appointment agreements.
Okay. And we do appreciate your input, Dave. It really informed us, and I think we came out the other side with a fair product that's a win for everybody. Quick overview. Remember, there's two agreements. There's an agency agreement and an agent agreement. We're not fundamentally changing the structure. There will be two new agreements, agency and agent. Okay, but this is just the who. And I'm going to hit these fairly quick, Dave, because like anything else, when we roll out new agreements, robust communication, webinars, consultations, we're not just going to send you a bulletin. All right, we're going to make sure that we do a deep dive on what these changes are. All right, but I'll give you the highlights here in the time we have. What we've done inside the language is we've strengthened some of the language around performance standards, and we removed the Board of Governors approval process for performance standard changes. Okay, what this is going to do is allow citizen staff to sense and respond and react and build more appropriate performance requirements that kind of meet what we're seeing in the market. Okay, this what you guys would traditionally know as the performance violation and late submission program. That's kind of the program, and it stood the test of time. But there's tweaks we'd like to make to it. There's some additional things that even agents have brought to us to say, Citizens, you really should consider this. The new agreement's going to allow us to be empowered to do those types of things. But Dave, we always do them with full transparency, consultation with you guys, with our art. We're not running rogue. If we make any changes there, there'll be a lot of conversation. Okay. Some strengthening to remarket your citizens' business on renewal. Nothing too radical, but just some strengthening of the requirement to do that. Prohibition on credential sharing. Okay, before that was a bulletin. It's in the agreement now. You can't share your credential. Okay, that's going to be in the agreement. It's pretty clear, right?
So with that point, okay, there was a question earlier, Carl, about dual authentication. So everybody will have to have their own authenticated if you're appointed with Citizens. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. And getting a credential with Citizens is very easy. We facilitate it through my agency. And if you need help with that, call your agency manager. They'll be happy to help you. I'm not going to hit all these days, but I'll hit the highlights. We've got established requirement for trust accounts. What we're really looking to make sure don't mingle customer funds is really what that's about. Surprisingly, we do have that happen from now and again. Not a good practice. I don't think anybody on the phone is doing that here, but we want to make sure that's codified in the agreement. Okay. And then a couple of other additional things. Ability to offset, deny, or recover commissions. We don't leverage that much, but we wanted to have some flexibility should there be a compelling reason to do that. Expand reasons for administrative terminations and term for cause. We wanted to make sure that while we still have due process, for us to terminate an agency administratively, let's say an agent didn't pay fees or didn't do things, we work and follow up like crazy. We're not trying to trick people in the term, but we had a rather significant burden of proof to go through, and it really bogged down the system on administrative termination. So we streamlined that a bit, and then terminations for cause. The agents, you always, if Citizens takes action on your agency, whether to suspend you or terminate you, you always have recourse, right? And the biggest thing I'll mention here is any disputes with agencies and agents, contractually, not underwriting disputes. I'm talking about our relationship. That's going to go to the Division of Administrative Hearings now. Okay, right now there's a third-party arbitrator that hears that, but we're going to be moving those disputes to DOA, and that mirrors up with what we do with policyholders too. Okay. Last thing also, Dave, is to compel agents to cooperate with inquiries and investigations. We need the agents to at least acknowledge they're going to talk with us if we have something to talk about regarding some case. You're not compelled under the Fifth Amendment, but we do need you to cooperate or tell us you won't and not just go dark. So that's in the agreement as well. So again, more training, more awareness, lots of conversation. But Dave, we do appreciate the insights you gave us to make sure that this was as much as a win for the agents as it was for citizens. Okay. All right. And I think that, Chairman Newell, concludes my slideshow. So we have a few.
Yeah, we got a few minutes. And again, if you got to jump off, certainly understand it. But we're going to try to go through a few of these last questions. John wants to know, Carl, about 2/3 of his carriers are not on Easy Links. Mm-hmm. What say you on that to help John, feel more comfortable with Easy Links?
Yeah, I think we recognize that while Easy Links has 20 carriers, they don't have the entire market. Could more carriers go on Easy Links? Perhaps, but we'll recognize that there's a lot of carriers out there that are on there. Right now, what we're requiring agents to do, if I understand where John's going, in order to bring integrity to the validation, we need them to bounce off of at least what's at Easy Links, acknowledging there may be another carrier out there, but hopefully the great agents, and most agents are putting them there outside of Easy Links, and they're not even trying to go with the Citizens. So, John, we're hoping that more agents, more carriers will come on Easy Links if they choose to, but it's never going to be 100%. And thank goodness you got access to them. But the ability, if I can't price against them unless they're on that box, and that was the case with the old platform as well.
What about, because this comes up from time to time, suppose you have a risk and only 2 admitted companies, they're having a problem getting that third denial. How are you all handling that when they can't get 3 denials in order to go into Citizens?
Dave, I think, right. Okay, it's about new business.
Yes.
We're gonna we've carved out the agents that have less than 3 appointments on Easy Links. We have some agents, candidly that, and we're going to work on making it reasonable. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
But it's a smaller segment of the agent population. It's a very unique segment. And for right now, any agent in that condition, I would say stand by, because you'll get some specific guidance from us on what to do relative to use Easy Links, or do we need you to go out there and grab that extra proof. Okay, we're going to take a look at that and see what we want to put on.
Okay. Let's see here. Let's go back to this one, Carl, and maybe Jeremy can weigh in on this as well. Agent has a situation. Trying to pull it back up. Sorry, I have a client with a hurricane claim. It appears a legitimate supplemental payment should be made. They have supporting info, yet it has been declined. Do citizens have a process to go through in order for that supplemental to be reviewed for potential payment, or is it required to go through the Department of Financial Services?
Hey,
They're asking about a supplemental payment on an outstanding claim that according to the agent and certainly the consumer, the customer, they feel that it should be paid, but it's being held up.
Hey, Dave, this is Jeremy, and Carl, you can jump in too. But Dave, if I understand this correctly, so first off, as far as when we're within the statute of limitations with any of the claims, the claim is never officially closed. So
right.
At any point when that claim is closed, if there's additional documentation or the consumer feels that a supplement payment is warranted, we will reopen that claim if it is closed. We will take the documentation; it'll go under full review. So that is, to be honest with you, we think that's the best first step because it's our goal to pay out what's warranted for sure. Obviously, the Department of Financial Services is there, but it's not required to go that route at all. That's more, especially if there's, obviously they accept all the regulatory complaints and so forth. But I mean, our stance is come back to us at any time. Let's reopen that claim. Let's look for coverage that potentially could have been it could have been overlooked. It could have been additional damage occurred later on, and it's warranted, or whatever it may be.
Jeremy, I think that's what it is. So I'm going to get Ed to send me some more intel, and I'll get it over to you guys, because it appears there may be some disconnect. There was 4 different adjusters assigned, so I think there may be some miscommunication on what the insured is looking for here. So
no, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. And any agent out there that has kind of a case like that where you're looking for some advocacy, get with your field manager. Just so, we see those on occasion, and we can reach back out and give you some guidance as well. But send us that one, Dave.
Yeah. We'll get Ed to send it over, and then we'll go from there.
Super.
Well, I think we have had clients for. Let's try to answer this one, and then we'll close her down. Good. Put that up. We had clients where a non-primary resident rate was applied inappropriately. Citizens depopulated the client as a result of the non-primary premium. Once we got the non-primary rate removed, the premium obviously dropped significantly, but Citizens still forced the policy to be depopulated. Citizens has told us that the only way to keep the business with Citizens is to rewrite the policy. Is there a better way?
The better way, and I would say this, that fortunately now we're through the campaign where we were highly encouraging agents to get the proof of non-primary or primary in. We ran extensive campaigns to get everybody to look, and I know agents are busy, and I know it was probably missed in some agencies, but it doesn't change the fundamental fact that the depop offer was based on the premium that data drove. Okay, so the answer that the agent got is correct. It is, I get it. But fortunately, Dave, we're now through the renewal cycles. Everything now coming in new business is validated primary, non-primary. And if any agent out there, knows that a customer has changed from primary, you need to get that to primary. The sooner we know about it before it's depop, the better. Okay. It hasn't happened that often, but again, we couldn't use that given the program and the contractual obligation as a reason not to, depop.
All right, I'm gonna end this on a high note, and I did not pay Michael. Carl, you don't know Michael. A huge shout out to the top management at Citizens. You all are doing a fantastic job. Thank you.
Well, wonderful. Well, we thank you for that.
Friday kudos to you guys. And again, it's not perfect, folks. We all know it's not perfect. Our insurance, the world we live in insurance is not perfect. But I will tell you the relationship that FAI has, I'll let Jeremy speak to this as well after I talk. The relationship we have, they listen, they advise, we discuss. There are things they can agree to, as Carl mentioned. Some of it's contractual, so they can't change much depending on the agreements. But I can tell you the conversations we continue to have been very fruitful. They've been very helpful, and so thanks for the shout out, Michael. I know Carl and Jeremy and the rest of the team really appreciate that. So, Jeremy, I'll give you the last word.
No, Dave, and thank you for that. I echo your comments, and this is not lip service. FAIA is truly our think tank as an organization. We rely heavily on the feedback through FAIA's members, all of you, and to be honest with you, that shapes our direction a lot of times. We have a phenomenal partnership. We are going to continue to have that partnership and the collaboration, and this entire year. I mean, ultimately, we are always focused on the consumer and that policyholder experience. And I know, so we have that mutual client, and at the end of the day, we want to do business the right way, and we want to be the best partners possible with the FAIA community. So we value the partnership and the collaboration, and again, look forward to accomplishing great things this year. Turn it back over to you, Dave.
Well, thanks, Jeremy. And again, thanks, Carl. Thanks for the team. I know there was a lot of flash messages going to help Carl through some of the questions that we were posing. And so thanks for his team back and all over the state, because these folks work remotely. So, or most of them do. But again, Carl, thank you for being on today. This was very informative, a lot of good comments. I think we've got some questions that we'll get over to you and the team to answer offline, since we're running a little bit over the hour. But again, thank you so much for being a guest on Friday Morning Live. And reiterate, if you have an issue, please reach out to the field manager first, right? Try that.
Yes.
I'm always available. Carl's always available. So use that as the resource. Anything else, Carl?
That's good, Dave. We appreciate the opportunity and look forward to being on next time.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend and great playoff football this weekend. So whatever team you're rooting for, hope they win. Take care, and we'll see you next time on Friday Morning Live.